Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, can you hear this in the back?
Yes.
Going okay, not popping too loud or anything? All right, good. Clerk Pern, could you please do a roll call for attendance?
Supervisor Bertrand,
Here.
Treasurer Hupp,
Here.
Trustee Detmer,
Yeah.
Trustee Monet,
Here.
and Clerk Pern, here.
Okay, as far as an approval of the agenda, for you who are sitting out here, there is an agenda sitting on the table back there. But I would ask for a motion that we approve the agenda as written. Do I have that
So moved.
pardon me?
So moved.
So, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, then we are going to move forward with the agenda as written. A little explanation off of the start. We're going to come away from the agenda. I want to explain, first of all, we have is there a motion to approve Dave from Monster Media to film and video record this meeting so that it can be put on the webpage? Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, then we will approve that motion and move on. Oh, excuse me, we need to do a roll call for that, Clerk Pern, because it involves some money.
All right. We'll do, Trustee Detmer,
Aye.
Treasurer Hupp,
Aye.
Supervisor Bertrand,
Aye.
Trustee Monet,
Yay.
and Clerk Pern, yay.
Okay, the motion carries, so Dave, you're good to go there. You're officially getting paid. Have to come out of the agenda order and go through a couple of things real quick first. I want to make sure, there seemed to be some confusion about public comment. For today's meeting, and not a precedent, public comment will only be at the end of the meeting. Persons will be allowed 5 minutes to speak. Please remember that loud side conversations that interfere with the residents hearing all the business of this meeting will not be allowed. Persons not cooperating with these guidelines will be asked to leave. Even if you as a participant in this meeting feel you are witnessing something out of order, even if you think it's a crime, you are not allowed to interrupt the business of this meeting. Three, Harry Johnson, we're going to try and get to this first because I think there's been a lot of confusion. I'm going to read a letter that I sent to Supervisor Maduri and to Becky, the interim clerk. This is from November 11th. Good morning. Please pass this on to Ordinance Officer Harry. At the time, I didn't know if you had an email. After much thought and discussion, this is a personal heads up from me to you, Harry. It is certain that we will immediately decide to move in a different direction concerning who is the ordinance officer. I insist that it should not be just a first board meeting termination by motion. You're obviously a capable person, Harry. If terminated, there may be a conflict should you choose to continue with the fire department. My union background dictates that you understand the situation beforehand and not have it publicly dumped on you at our first board meeting. In this situation, you do not need a termination being the reason you no longer do the job unless you want to be terminated. If you choose to resign and turn your keys in prior to the board meeting on the 20th, that's fine. I will announce at the board meeting that you have resigned from the ordinance officer position for personal reasons. If you do not resign, we will motion on the 20th to terminate you as the ordinance officer and just announce that we're moving in a new direction. Let me know how you want this to play out. It's your call. That's all I could do. Good luck going forward. My concern with this is whether or not people actually understand the difference when you use the word may or shall. Our concern as a board was if we terminated you as an ordinance officer, may that carry over into your being on the fire department? We're not really sure. I posed that question to you. I somewhat assumed that you would get an answer to that question through Larry or somebody else in the past week or so. It seems that somehow this has turned into we are attempting to fire you from the fire department. We are not. It doesn't even matter. All I tried to do was give you a heads up that there might be some kind of a connection here. So I don't know what happened after all of that, but you certainly have an opportunity to resign from the ordinance officer. We are going to go in a different direction. And I still do not know, my personal feeling is that has nothing to do with you being on the fire department. But if we have to terminate you, I don't know. So I can ask you right now if you would rather choose to resign or not from the ordinance officer position.
Can I speak? Because you had said I can't speak till the end, but can I speak now?
If you can keep it short, because really I'm just looking for an answer, not an explanation.
Okay, first of all, these are HR issues that you should be discussing with me during working hours where I work. This is not the time or place to be pulling out one person like you are right now. Secondly, I've done nothing wrong, but I've done nothing but an absolutely outstanding job at my job. I have no reason to feel threatened by you. It doesn't matter to me.
Okay, I'm going to take that to mean you are not going to resign.
No. Why
Okay,
would I?
thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to move forward with the agenda then. The first issue on the agenda would be, I'm going to ask for a motion, or is there a motion, for the board to dismiss Harry as the ordinance officer. Thank you for your service, but we're going to move in a different direction. Do we have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. So the motion carries. Oh, I'm sorry, for the, oh, okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the same. Okay, the motion carries. Harry, I would say to you that whatever you have inside the building that's not related to the fire department, please turn in your keys or get your personal effects, within the next 24 hours.
See you at 9 o'clock tomorrow.
I'm sorry?
9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving forward. I would entertain a motion to authorize a supervisor to contract with a locksmith to replace the building keys and the cemetery storage building lock. There was no set price for this, it was to be done by hour. Do I have that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion carries. Oh, excuse me. We have a second, so we will, who supports the motion as made? Say aye.
Aye.
Who opposes? Okay, the motion carries. third one, we gotta get these things out of the way. I would entertain a motion to hire Classic Computer, Anthony, at a rate of $165 an hour for IT and technical services, estimated for a 2-hour start on Thursday the 21st. Do we have that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
I will second it.
Okay, we will need a roll call vote for that, Clerk Byrne.
Okay. Supervisor Bertrand,
Aye.
Clerk Pern, aye. Treasurer House,
Yay.
Trustee Detmer,
Aye.
Trustee Monet.
Yay.
Okay, the motion carries. The next on the agenda, and I'm gonna speak a little bit to this first. The current law firm is Fahey Schultz and has been for quite some time. We're gonna move in a different direction with that and go to a different law firm. So I'm gonna ask if there is a motion that we terminate the legal services of Fahey Schultz.
I will make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. We have the motion, so that is also a roll call vote. So Mr. Clerk Pern, could you please do that?
Trustee Monet,
Yay.
Trustee Detmer,
Aye.
Treasurer House,
Yay.
Supervisor Bertrand,
Yeah.
Clerk Pern, yay.
Okay, the motion carries. Next on the agenda is to authorize legal counsel Bachman Fowl to settle the lawsuit brought by Higgins Lake United against Lyon Township. Do we have that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the same.
Abstain.
Thank you, Trustee Monet. The motion will carry.
And at this time, I would ask Supervisor Bertrand to give me a few seconds on the floor to explain my decision. Do I have your permission?
You certainly do.
Although I may agree with this board's decision to not dispute the facts of the case brought forth by Higgins Lake United and the relief requested at this time, it would be irresponsible for me, as being named as a representative in the lawsuit, to vote on such a matter, so there is why I abstain.
Thank you, Trustee Monet. So we are going to jump back out of the agenda for a little while. A couple of those things, the housekeeping things, needed to happen pretty quick. We're going to enter into a period here where the board will make some comments to you. And these are related to following the election and the fact that we're here now representing this township. Does any one of the board members in particular want to start with what they'd like to say to the public?
I'll say a couple words.
Mine's gonna be really short, and I just wanna thank all of our supporters out there for what they've done. Couldn't have done it without you guys, and now it's time to get to work and make this township better for everybody. Thank you.
I just want to say, I never in a million years thought I would run for any kind of public office. I'm a local boy. I grew up in Roscommon County, went to Houghton Lake High School, went to Kirtland Community College, and have spent most of my life here. I love the lakes, I love the woods, I love the country, and I love the people. And I just thank everybody who elected me. I figured it was important to step up. I stepped up, and I'll do my very best to represent the people of the township. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Detmer. Is this microphone still working good?
I don't know if this one's working.
They should be. I'm concerned about the battery in this thing. Go ahead and use that one.
Yeah. No? Oh, it is now. Yes, I'd like to thank you all for your support. It was a pretty overwhelming victory. It just tells us that somebody was listening to us. We went around house to house. We had other things available at our means, ads in the papers, postcards, all that stuff. I want to thank you for the opportunity to let us prove we're worthy of your votes. Thank you.
Good evening. I would just like to thank everyone who's here this evening, and on top of everything else, election results are election results. I'm hoping moving forward that there can be an open dialogue within the community and bring people together instead of being ripped apart how we've been ripped apart for 4 years.
Thank you, Trustee Monet. So we'll go back, because we jumped in and out of the agenda to take care of some stuff, we'll go back to what would have been the beginning. So good evening and thanks for coming. Besides the obvious commonality that we all have in loving this lake and this area, we have one more thing in common tonight, and that is that you don't know what I'm going to say, and neither do I. So keep that in mind. Before we get into any of the details of what we're going to do, besides those housekeeping things, I want to make something perfectly clear. We are not against sewers. We are not against short-term rental agreements. We are not against septic ordinances. We all are against the methodology that was used to reach the decisions over the last couple of years. We will revisit those issues. We're now glad to serve you as your board because a movement objected to the methods that were used over the last 4 years. This is our first meeting. There's going to be some bumps, a lot of them by me. Any mistakes that we make in procedure or protocol will be corrected if our legal firm deems that we do so. As you can see, this meeting will be recorded. Hopefully we will get good audio, and it will be on the website for all to see. Something I should explain is in relation to the Open Meeting Act. Our law firm has explained every variation of an Open Meeting Act violation. We understand them. We are aware. We took an oath to not violate them. We will not violate the Open Meeting Act. Any frivolous claims that we do so will be prosecuted for legal fees. We know exactly what we can and cannot do, and we are working real hard already today to make sure that we do not violate anything in the Open Meeting Act. To close, we as a board were supported 2-1 in the primary election. We ran on the back of a movement to restore citizens' rights. Today we're happy to start doing that job. We will never forget that we serve the residents, not the other way around. You will see this board move in a new direction. There will be transparency in our actions. We will answer questions and complaints, and you will not be ignored. In regards to complaints, on the desk or on the small table over there is a stack of forms that start out with supervisor, and it is for you to, anything you want to complain about or anything you want to pursue and talk with us about, you fill out one of those forms and you get it to the township office. It will come to me. I will either deal directly with you and talk with you, or I will assign one of the board members if it's particular to them. You will get an answer. I will keep a file. All of the complaints and the suggestions will be kept in a file, and we hope to make that be something that's available for anybody who wants to pursue under Freedom of Information Act. We're going to listen to you. It's not going to be like we can just do it back and forth. I will get back to you, or one of the board members will get back to you. Whatever the answer is will come back through me, and I will file it accordingly. That being said, common sense and solid science proof is going to rule our decisions. I have to thank the people who support us. There is so much optimism. Just love it. Too many people seen the light. Too many now believe that we can restore and rejuvenate Lyon Township residents' rights. We all need to be ready to act on it. So we're going to get started, which we already did because we operated out of order for a little while. So sorry about that, but now we landed back to where we were. Unless any other board members have a comment they'd like for the public before we move on. Okay, I guess we're looking good. So back to the agenda as it was written. I would entertain a motion to appoint Supervisor Bertrand as temporary ordinance officer until the board revisits the ordinance officer duties.
Oh my.
Do I have that motion?
I will make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I will second.
Okay. All of those in favor of that signify by saying aye. Aye. Do I have to abstain from that? All those opposed, the same.
Say no for yourself.
Okay, all those opposed, the same. Okay, motion carries.
We got each.
Next on the agenda, appoint trustee Monet as a board member liaison to the planning commission. So do we have a motion to appoint trustee Monet as a board member liaison to the planning commission?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor of that signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda, rescind Lyon Township Board's support for the nomination of James Kaufman to the GLUA Garrish Lyon Utility Authority Board as the at-large member. Do we have that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
I will second it.
All those in favor of that signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. The motion carries. Next, to set the township office hours to include, we have some dates here we want to throw out there. We're not real sure that this was already posted. Other than the receptionist, well, I'll do it backwards. Other than the receptionist, we will not be available. This building will be closed other than the receptionist. This would be for the 21st, tomorrow, the 22nd, Friday, and the 25th, which is Monday. We will be doing onboard training and doing our landing and figure out what we got here, what we need. We will, the receptionist will be here to help you or if you want to drop something off, but we're not going to be available for those 3 days. So again, that is November 21, 22, and 25. As far as the holiday schedule, we understand it to be that we will be closed on the 28th and 29th, which is Thanksgiving and the day after. Also on the 24th and 25th, being Christmas Eve, Christmas, and the 31st. That actually doesn't make sense. Shouldn't we be closed on January 1st for New Year's Day?
Well, that's the idea.
Okay, so we're not on here yet. Okay, so our concern is whether this was posted. We will get it on the web page or on the website as soon as we can, and we can get access to it, which should be within this next couple of days as we're familiarizing ourselves with what's going on here. So, I would entertain a motion that we set those hours and post them as soon as we can. We have that motion.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? the same. The motion carries. If you picked up a copy of the agenda, on the bottom there, it said additions. We do have an addition. I was out of order by not stating that at the beginning. But we have it is in regard to repealing purchase agreements that may exist. We don't even know if they exist or they don't. We don't want to be in a situation where we have some sort of an emergency and we are strapped by a purchase agreement. So I would entertain a motion that we repeal any purchase agreements that there are with the township for the board, existing, and for on a temporary basis, so that we have the freedom to act if we have to act. Do I have that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, sir. We're gonna do a roll call on that. Clerk Penn, if you could set it in motion, please.
Trustee Monet,
Yay.
trustee Desbert,
Yay.
supervisor Bertrand,
Yay.
treasurer Hunt,
Yay.
clerk Byrne, yay.
Okay, the motion carries. There was some water bottles in that refrigerator. If any of you are dying of thirst, have at them. Okay, next on the agenda is a resolution. A little backstory here. I want everyone here to understand that hiring competent people and keeping them is paramount in this board's plans moving forward. The skill level and the serious resident canvassing that we intend to do is going to cost money. Well spent when attempting to involve every resident and let them have a voice in the decisions that we make. We're going to bring in or retain the best people we can find and pay them accordingly to move this township forward. We believe that they'll stay with us for as long as it takes to check all the riggings on this ship, to get it upright, floating straight, and then sail it in a direction that the residents agree with. With that being said, I will entertain a motion to adopt the resolution, and I will read it as such. Lyon Township, Roscommon County, Michigan. Resolution appointing deputies. Whereas MCL 41.61 provides that a township supervisor may appoint a deputy supervisor. MCL 41.69 provides that the township clerk shall appoint a deputy clerk. And MCL 41.77 provides that a township treasurer shall appoint a deputy treasurer. And whereas the board desires to appoint these three individuals to those three positions and set their salaries and hours of work. Now therefore it is resolved that the township board hereby appoints Jonette Fay as the deputy supervisor. The deputy supervisor's salary will be $20 an hour. And the deputy supervisor shall generally work the following hours, up to 20 hours per week. The township board hereby appoints Courtney Holtzel as the deputy clerk. The deputy clerk's salary shall be $20 per hour, and the deputy clerk shall generally work the following hours, up to 25 hours per week. The township board hereby appoints Teresa Ross as the deputy treasurer. The deputy treasurer's salary shall be $20 per hour, and the deputy treasurer shall generally work the following hours, up to 20 hours per week. the township board will increase the pay of the receptionist, Gloria Ann Olson, by $2 an hour, which we believe from the record we saw today brings her to $15 an hour. And she will generally work up to 30 hours a week. All resolutions or parts of resolutions in conflict herewith shall be the same and are hereby rescinded. The previous serving deputy supervisor, deputy clerk, and deputy treasurer are dismissed from their roles and thanked for their service to the community. Okay, on that resolution, all in favor, signify, what I skipped?
Motion for it and roll call.
Oh, sorry. So I would entertain a motion to adopt that resolution.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Okay, roll call, Clerk Pern.
Treasurer Hobbs,
Yay.
Supervisor Bertrand,
Yay.
Trustee Monet,
Yay.
Trustee Detmer,
Yay.
Clerk Pern, yay.
Okay, the resolution has passed. So Clerk Pern, I will get a document to you that is updated on that.
Nobody need an updated copy.
Nope.
Yeah. Okay, moving forward on the agenda still. So we have two ordinances. We'll start with the first one, but again, I'm going to give you just a little brief backstory. The ordinance itself is to repeal the township's private wastewater system ordinance. In doing a little back study and doing my due diligence as a citizen, I found that there's too many actions taken by the previous board that discounted the majority of residents' opinions. I've determined that there's too many unknowns and current data does not support the conclusions made by the board that created Ordinance 64. We will, as this board, follow the EPA standards, and the health department is perfectly capable of handling all septic permit issues, violations, and fails. Okay. That being said, is there a motion to adopt the ordinance number 66 as written? Lyon Township, Roscommon County, Ordinance 66, adopted 10/20/24, or 11/20/24, effective 12/2/24. An ordinance to repeal the township's private wastewater system ordinance, ordinance number 64, and to provide an effective date. Again, Lyon Township, Roscommon County ordains Section 1, repeal of ordinance number 64. The Lyon Township Private Wastewater System Ordinance, ordinance number 64, is hereby repealed in its entirety. Section 2, existing systems. The Health Department has been and will continue to be responsible for all the inspections and requirements for replacement. The township shall require only the standard tank and field as would be required by the Health Department and state codes. Section 3, the effective date. This ordinance shall take effect on the day after the publication, after adoption. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 66?
I will make that motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Let me get a formal second on
I'll
that.
second that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pern, we will need a roll call vote on that.
Clerk Pern, yay. Supervisor Bertrand,
Yay.
Treasurer Hobbs,
Yay.
Trustee Detmer,
Yay.
Trustee Monet.
Yay.
Okay, the ordinance carries. Next on the agenda is the ordinance title, or number 67, which is to repeal the township short-term rental ordinance. I will read through it. Lyon Township, Roscommon County, Michigan, Ordinance 67, adopted 11/20/24, effective 12/2/24. An ordinance to repeal the township's short-term rental ordinance, ordinance number 65, and to provide an effective date. Lyon Township, Roscommon County, Michigan ordains Section 1, repeal of ordinance number 65. We're going to revisit this issue in the future and use all the residents' input to formulate our decisions going forward. Section 2, the savings clause. Prosecutions undertaken pursuant to ordinance 65 are saved to their normal conclusion. I don't see the language in here, but that is essentially what the ordinance states. And no, there was things that I might have said that are really not that important. It is the ordinance.
Okay.
So as written, is there a motion to adopt ordinance number 67?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I will second it.
Okay, Clerk Pern will need a roll call on that one too.
Okay. Trustee Detmer.
Aye.
Treasurer Hopkins.
Aye.
Supervisor Bertrand.
Aye.
Trustee Monet.
Yay.
Clerk Kern. Yay.
Okay. The ordinance is adopted. I want everyone to know that having done our due diligence, and as a supervisor-elect, I do not believe that the duties of the ordinance officer outside of the 24/7 duties of the sheriff department cannot be done by the supervisor, and we already went over that. That would include anything having to do with problems with short-term rentals. As I see it, we have reached the end of our agenda. At this point, we have already gone over the guidelines for public comment. Again, you'll each, if you want to make a public comment, you get 5 minutes. And if you have anything that has got to do with a complaint that you'd like us to look into, or an idea, or almost anything, actually, the forms are on the back table. Please take one, fill it out, and get it to me. And as we already discussed, we will handle everything that anybody has to say through a process that gets you a formal answer. So at that point, I will open it up to public comment. And one of these microphones will need to go up to the front for you. Yes, sir, you come right up. When you're done, you can leave this microphone right on the table.
My name's Bill Cleaves, I live at 500 Chickasaw. I just wondered,
Speak right into it.
I just wondered about,
One of the reasons we're doing this is for hearing impaired. Gotta kind of get right into it so that
Okay.
people can watch.
gotcha. I just wanted to talk about you canceling all the purchase agreements. We should have a purchase agreement for a new fire truck. Something that takes about 2.5 years to build. And I know it's in process. I just wondered if that one is gonna be canceled.
Can I see that microphone? We may not have had the correct wording in that. What we were looking for was to address if we had limits to where any of the board members assigned could only spend up to $500 for something, could only spend up to $1,000 for something. And we ran into a situation in the immediate future as we do our landing, that something comes up and we gotta do something about it. So I do not believe that it would apply to that.
Okay, but, and a fire truck's more than 1,000, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. So if there's any other comments, raise your hand and we'll get you in here. Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you, sir. Can you hear me? First of all, congratulations to every one of you. Obviously, there's an overwhelming majority of this community that wanted to get some new blood. And don't forget that moving forward. I had the opportunity to listen to Dan Marino about a year ago. He was a famous quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. I'm sure you've all heard of him. The one thing that he said that resonated with me was to always believe in yourself. You are going to have conflict, there's no doubt, but believe in yourself always and stay strong. And when you are overwhelmed with making a decision, I offer you 3 things to think about. Is it legal? Is it moral? And is it ethical? Keep that in mind. Sometimes these decisions you have to make are going to be tough ones. And you're going to need a place to turn for some guidelines. Hats off to you for having a microphone and a speaker. Really, 3 years. 3 years it took to get this. Fantastic. How about a round of applause? Huh? Fantastic. How about
If it was all that easy. right?
how about the supervisor form? Huh? Another round of applause. How simple of a concept. Simple concepts, complete transparency. Complete. That's how you're going to continue to win your constituents over. Stay the course. Stay strong. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have anybody else tonight? Hey, I know that guy. Okay, hang on, still a lot of bumps in the road. I gotta reset your timer in case you get real windy there.
No, I'll keep it short and brief.
All right, go ahead.
A lot of it was already said and I think already acted upon by this board in your first meeting, but just.
Let me stop you right there. Can you hear him in the back? Okay, you'll have to get a little
A
closer.
little closer? Okay. A lot of what I was going to say, this board has already taken some action on in looking at ordinances. But I want to welcome the board here and say that it's not very often that there's a defeat of an incumbent board. In talking to some people over the years, I don't think we can remember when an incumbent board was totally replaced. And I think that says a lot about what you as this board coming in influenced the public and listen to what they were looking for. Elections have consequences, and they also lead to mandates for change. Citizens did not support the incumbents in their approach and process to the hot topics in the township over the last couple of years of the sewer, the septic, short-term rental, and others too. I mean, there was a lack of public input. You know, there were many special meetings called with the 18-hour rule, and truly not getting the input of the public. You five here have a mandate to affect change going forward. Looking at those results, you know, I think there's a mandate there. And the way you're going to approach this, as I'm hearing tonight, it sounds like you're gonna follow this, is that you need to be transparent. You know, in God we trust, all others bring data. Trust the input and the data you receive, yet make sure to verify it. Not everything that has come before this board and prior boards have been valid. You know, there's a way you can bias data to affect an outcome. So please continue to validate everything. Allow future citizen input. Minimize special meetings called within the 18 hours. As a community, we have more that unites us than divides us. You know, it seems to be a phrase that we hear a lot these days here and on the national level too. But don't let the will of a few overshadow the desires of the overall community. You know, listen to what the public wants to say, and don't let small groups that want to leverage you overrule your thought process. God bless you all and keep the truth marching on. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, John. No, thanks, John. I would just like to say, I think it's really nice that people say, oh, you know, it's wonderful, Dave and John, you know, believe in yourself. Believe. I've been saying for 4 years now, and I will go to my grave saying this. Article 1, Section 1 of our state constitution. All government is inherent in the people. I believe in you and your ability to make informed decisions with science and facts backing it up, not me making those decisions for you. So thank you for that, and I hope we move into a direction that encompasses a huge part of the community and their input.
Okay, are there any more public comments to be made? Feel free. Come on up, sir. Oh, it's Ron. Good to see you. You're riding back there.
On purpose.
All right. Again, try and keep the microphone up close enough for.
All right. Ron Nesda, been here at Higgins Lake for a good 20 years. Been part of the fire department for 16 years. And I'm concerned that if Harry gets so he can't be in the fire department, that concerns everybody here. All right? We're already low on personnel as it stands. And we certainly don't need somebody that gets taken out of our department that is one heck of a firefighter. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Oh yeah, they can speak well. We're gonna address this.
We'll address. You
All right.
to say it, Mike, we'll address.
Yeah, good evening again. I would just like to say that this decision wasn't easy, and after speaking to advisement otherwise, the separation of the fire department as an independent agency operating with its own budget and everything else, but with guidance from the township, and Harry's position as ordinance officer, I don't think people should confuse the two. If we move in a new direction as a township board when it comes to an ordinance officer, that does not mean, to my opinion, have anything to do with Harry's ability to serve on the fire department whatsoever. I mean, it's never been said, because at the end of the day, that is a separate entity, and we must recognize that. So I think there has been, how many times have we heard miscommunication, misinformation, whatever it is. So I wouldn't want you to know that I don't see any reason whatsoever to, put the force at risk, if you will, the police force, EMS, fire department, not police, but fire department. Yeah, it just wouldn't make any sense. So I mean, I hope everyone realizes that our decision as a board is for township purposes. What you guys do are for community service reasons, and we are too, but in a different capacity. And I just don't think the two overlap, in my opinion, so. That's all that.
Go ahead, Harry.
Hi, Harry Johnson. I've been the ordinance officer till about 7 o'clock tonight, doing an outstanding job. And I'm a firefighter at the same time. The reason I'm able to do both is because the ordinance officer gives me about 2/3 of my income, and the firefighter gives me about 1/3. If I don't have the ordinance officer job, I would have to find another job. It's not gonna be here, it's not gonna be where I can get up and leave when there's a fire or an emergency call. So consider this my resignation from the fire department.
And he drives the ambulance.
Okay, Harry. I will say this, that we had talked about this briefly before. I understand that you're concerned about this. I'm gonna just offer that in 24 hours, if you still feel the same, let me know.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel it.
Okay, if there's
May
any
I
other
say
comments.
something?
Sure, come on up.
This man gets up all during the night for the fire department, and he is most of the time the one who drives the ambulance. So without him, you will be paying everyone, all the residents will be paying to have somebody come in from other areas. And the sad part is I keep hearing your opinion. It would be a actual fact if it is against the township, him working here and working there, or to still have his job there. But you don't have the fact, and he felt threatened with your email. That is the wrongest way to do something. That is a very bad way to start out, to cripple your fire department and your ambulance. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. I will repeat it only, again, because I already said this. The answer to whether or not there is a carryover from us as a board moving in a different direction and dismissing you as an ordinance officer, whether or not that applies to your fire department job, is standing right in the back of the room here. You had 10 days to talk with that man and figure out if it
And that's a
did or
threat.
it didn't.
Stop.
Okay.
Don't threaten me in public.
No, I'm not threatening you, I'm saying,
That's
she's
a
saying
threat.
that,
You threaten my livelihood, you've taken it away, I cannot do both. We're done.
Thank you, sir.
We're done.
all right, we'll move on then. Is there anybody else who's got anything to say?
I keep hearing this statement, we're moving in a new direction. Define your term. Define moving in a new direction.
If you put it on a complaint form, I will run it through the process, as I said I would.
I'm just looking for clarification on what your statement is.
I can't say it any clearer than that.
You're moving in a new direction. All I'm asking is a definition of what is a new direction.
If you look at what we did in this meeting with the ordinances, that would be part of it. There'll be more to come. If you want to officially ask me, I will give you as much information as I can. But it'll be on those forms, so it's public record. But thank you.
There's public record right here.
Do you have anything else?
Not right now.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You'll be hearing from me later.
That's true.
Good. I'm seriously, we want to hear it, but through a formal process so it doesn't get forgotten.
Sure.
Any other comments out there? Let's go.
Some of you don't know me, but my name is J.C. Holder. I am the chief of Lyon Township Fire Department EMS. By getting rid of Harry, I don't know why you guys chose to do so. From what I've seen, the job has changed. He did a lot for the township. But you just crippled this fire department. You did a major cripple to it, okay? Right now, Harry, myself, and our EMS coordinator do 90% of the runs. Okay, without Harry on the department, I'm gonna be turning calls over to the state, or to other townships, Garish, Houghton Lake. And then you know what happens after that? The state steps in and shuts down the EMS program. Then your residents are gonna pay even more. So I don't know what difference you guys got going on, but you need to figure it out. I'm down to 8 firefighters now. 8, you know how hard it is to fight a fire with 2 that show up? It's hard. So just think about that.
Thank you, JC. Is there any other comments out there? Oh. Any other public yes, go right ahead. Well, whoever gets here first. How's that?
Patty Dennis, Lyon Township. I just want to, I'm curious, and I know I'm not going to get an answer, but how do you know what the whole community wants? Because I think you have just listened to the people that support your agenda. And I think that it's important that you understand that there is a large portion of the community that's not necessarily vocal, because they agreed with the directions and the things that were being done by the prior board. I have attended many meetings about where they discussed why they did the things they were doing and what the rationale was and all the reasons for why they did what they did. And at those many meetings, I maybe saw Paul occasionally, I saw Timothy frequently, I saw the rest of you this many times. So I'm just curious how you really know what the community wants. So I hope you do mean to listen to all residents, not just the ones that agree with your position.
Thank you, Patty. I can add, when I referenced that we will canvass more, I had given some examples of that to the Planning Commission. Canvassing more, harder, better means reaching out to all the residents with a more detailed questionnaire, looking for leans and directions, looking for who is returning the reply, and based on whether they are permanent residents, less than 6 weeks, less than 2 months, compiling it all, putting it together to be a direction that we had already offered to the Planning Commission, that we would move in the direction that the majority of residents wanted to move. Part of that is you send it out once, and then you send a second one to the people who didn't reply. And then you start to make a move from there through a Planning Commission. That's our hope. So that is part of it. Again, I encourage you to write down something in detail and send it to me, and I can get back to you maybe more in detail. But thank you. Are there any other comments? Yes, sir, Mr. Maderi.
Good evening, board. Larry Maduri. So first, congratulations.
A little closer.
Better? I'm addressing the board,
yes.
so.
Can you hear him in the back?
No. All right.
Maybe like that.
Is this better? Okay. So first of all, congratulations to you guys. It is what it is. I do want to address your comment about Harry. So there would never be a situation that I would take direction from an email from you threatening his position. If that's something that you wanted to do, you had every right to come in here and address Harry and those concerns and go through that process. Totally up to you to do that. That was not for me to do. For me, Harry was the right person for the job. He was the right, in the right seat on the bus. And doing what you did, you'll have to go through and figure out what detriment that's going to cause. Harry was an extremely well-rounded ordinance officer when it comes to how an ordinance is written and getting the emotion part of it taken out of the equation. There are words that are written on paper, you either enforce those words or you don't, and you get rid of the ordinance. And Harry was phenomenal at doing that. Not to mention the amount of work, which you will now figure out the amount of work that takes into effect as being an ordinance officer, and the amount of complaints and the amount of back and forth that has to go. So while you might have thought you're saving that, you hired a deputy supervisor so that you can go and do an ordinance job. So with that said, I don't think that was the right decision, but again, that's your decision. As far as transition goes, there was communication about a transition. And I sat down with a couple of the board members and really went through a lot of the reasoning behind why the septic tank ordinance was drafted the way it was and why it was enforced, and some of the good points about it and some of the bad points about it. Is it perfect? No. But when you talk about data, the only way that you're going to get data is not listening to somebody that is a 20-year scholar, doesn't live around here, and has no idea what's going on. And that's what we were doing to collect, and now you just stop that whole process. If you want to change things on it, then so be it. You're well within your right, but stopping it, you're eliminating the data that you're already trying to collect. And the same thing goes with the short-term rental. And in the Planning Commission, you specifically, Paul, were asked if you read it, and you didn't. And you admitted that you didn't. So you can't form an opinion or try to correct something when you don't really know all of the dynamics about that. And I was more than willing to sit down and have those conversations, and I did. And I'm really surprised that with all of those conversations, that unanimously the five of you agreed to rescind both of those ordinances. But again, you're well within your right to do it. And you will put a detriment to this fire department, and that will put a detriment to this community. If you know the amount of time that it takes to try to find and canvass somebody to work for the fire department or work for the EMS, it's not in this area. We have struggled for years, even beyond my time here, to try to find people, and good quality people that will want to stay around here. And you lost a really good one today. And it's unfortunate that you guys did that, and I thought that you would have at least had come to a determination at some point down the line and explained your reasoning for doing that. But to come here day one and rescind and get rid of an ordinance officer and now really put this community at risk by not having another person working in the fire and EMS, and that will be on you guys to try to figure out how to do that. And I wish you luck to do it, but it will be a very difficult task. So, thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Is there anybody out? Yeah, I see a hand in the back. Come on up.
John Barrett, Lyon Township. Congratulations, by the way. I personally have had Harry show up at my home, and I would agree with Larry that you guys are certainly well within your rights to do the things that you need to do. But what you haven't done is your research to figure out what the alternative is, because we are losing a wonderful person. Harry's been to my home. You have put our community in jeopardy without really a solution. You didn't hire an ordinance officer. Paul, you're gonna have a lot to do. You're not gonna be able to do it. So I completely disagree with that decision. I also hope when you canvass, you hit all of the properties, not just residents, but the property owners as well, because you're gonna have a lot more feedback from those people as well. Thank you.
Absolutely correct on the canvassing. Thank you. Yes, sir. Oh, I know this guy. Hi, Phil. How are
Some
you?
people too.
So, Philip Check. I've been around Higgins Lake for 35 years now. And I want to congratulate you first off. But the reason I want to say something is on behalf of Harry. So, I don't know if you know it, but the last election, Harry and Larry ran against each other. And I consider the two of them professionals to work together. And I know Harry will work with you regardless of his position or your position. He'll do the job for you.
Thank you, Phil. Anybody else out there? We got time, we got recording, you come right up.
Brenda Horton, Lyon Township. I don't think people understand that when we call an ambulance and there's not anybody to come because there's no ambulance, if people don't have insurance, that's included in our taxes. Who's gonna afford a $1,200 trip from there to Grayling Hospital? Have you thought about that? Have you thought about that? People are gonna be scared to call the ambulance because they don't have any money to pay for it. We pay our taxes to have an ambulance and to have a fire department. How many elderly people do they pick up off the floor? Does anybody think about that? Anybody?
I appreciate your comment. If you put it in through the comment section, I will get back to you. I will say this, we are not thoughtless and planless in this, okay? Our move, we made. We will make other moves in the future that benefit this township. But thank you, and I'm serious, write it down, so primarily, so many things happen, it'll get lost in the shuffle, and they got lost in the shuffle at previous meetings. You have a legitimate point. I want to answer it to the best of my ability, but if we just do it like this, it doesn't come out on a permanent record. And that's what our goal is. But thank you, and if you have more to say, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
It's on camera.
I guess that's the biggest thing. The elderly are going to suffer. You have a heart attack, you call an ambulance, they're gonna call somebody. It might take 3 hours for somebody to come. Houghton Lake's busy, Grayling's busy, Gail is right here. If she doesn't have anybody to drive the ambulance, she can't go. She knows the people in the neighborhood. They know the area in the neighborhood. I think that this is horrible, horrible.
Okay, thank you for the comment. Are there any other comments, public comments out there? Go ahead, you got time. Nobody's trying to beat you here this time.
Jan Krieger, Lyon Township. First of all, what people need to realize is you folks did not fire Harry other than from his ordinance job, which does not have anything to do with putting out fires and running an ambulance. That was his choice to leave that.
Thank you, Janet. Any other comments? Somebody had their hand up over here, I thought. I'm sorry, something I should have gone over is you each get one shot at 5 minutes. Because I didn't say it, and you didn't use your 5 minutes up, come on up if you got more to say.
First of all, I didn't identify myself, David Bookless. I've lived in Lyon Township 26 years. I object to the way that Harry has been removed from his job as an ordinance officer. For the record. And by eliminating that portion of his employment, which caused him to resign from the fire department because of your actions, I think that's a pretty poor way to start out your tenure on running this township.
Thank you, sir. I see another hand back there. Come on up.
I didn't use 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, I'll give you that one. I gotta, like I told you, there's bumps in the road. We're gonna smooth out how we do this job.
Okay, I'm Bill Cleaves, I live at 506, so I was a past fire chief. I was a data guy when I was a fire chief. So if you people need any information on the fire department and data spreads on personnel, mileage cost, insurance cost, this township does not pay for an ambulance. It comes out of the fire budget. If our ambulance doesn't show up, our residents are gonna be on the end of a $1,600 bill minimum for ALS call, either from Garish or Holt Lake. Now, if you would like facts and figures of having 3 people in an ambulance, I will absolutely work with JC and get you all the information you want. And I'll work with JC anytime anyway. I want my guys to be safe. And that's having more people than what we've got, that's for sure. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill. You frequently speak with JC, is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely.
Okay, instead of doing a formal thing, I'll be talking with JC about stuff anyway. Are there any other public comments? Yes, sir, come right up.
I'm John Davis, Lyon Township resident. And I would agree with a lot of people in this room that the way you handled Harry Johnson is inappropriate and wrong. Secondly, as this gentleman over here on the end of this first row said, I agree with him. I'm concerned about this new direction. And it seems to me right now, the room full of people, we would at least get a clue. Does that mean we're gonna have some more bars, more restaurants, more stores, more liquor stores? Does it mean we're gonna have some condominiums? Does it mean we're gonna have a better road? Does it mean that we're, all those things? I just think that you guys, if you're truly moving in a new direction, you ought to be able to speak about it right now.
Thank you, sir. I would encourage you to make sure that you get to me on one of the forums, and I will get answers back to you. Part of the, just part of the reason for Patty and other people who have seen Timothy and I speak before, we came here tonight to do the agenda for this meeting. There is tons of other information that apply to exactly what you're asking, but we're not bringing it to this meeting because that's not what we're doing at this meeting. We will get to that stuff, but thank you. You're right, thank you. Any other comments? Going once. Oh, in the back. Hi, sir, how are you?
More of a question. No, you can tell me it's okay. Sarah Bonsack, Lyon Township. My question is, with the hiring, firing, as a Lyon Township fire employee, I have to be hired by the township board to be on the department. So if I'm fired from the township, it has been said that we are fired completely from the township. So as Harry is fired from the township here, he is then fired from Lyon Township. Is that correct?
I will answer that one because that's why I read the letter earlier. We were concerned that it may affect his employment with the fire department. No, that's exactly what I put on that letter, and I already read it.
I'm just
Okay,
curious
well,
because
okay. Anyway, in an attempt to try and answer you, we do not believe that the two are connected. If he resigned, if he had to be terminated, we're not sure. And I offered both of those possibilities to Harry as far as contemplate what you want to do.
Okay.
And
I'm just curious,
This is
because
your threat.
if I go to join the fire department, why does the board have to hire me if it's two separate things? That's, I mean, I'm just curious.
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay,
It's true.
well.
I mean, at this
mean,
point, I can certainly find out and get back to you. I'm not sure exactly how the
Okay.
hiring process works like that yet.
Well, I know, I've been through it, I have to be hired by, approved by the board to work
I
for
would
the
certainly
township.
think so, yeah.
So, okay. Just curious how if one's fired from one, it's not the other, if it's still under the same township. Just moving forward, to clarify,
I appreciate your concern. There's not much more I can say that I didn't already say.
okay, I just,
We share your concern. Come on up, sir.
My name is Craig Williams, Lyon Township resident. On the fire department, I just retired in July, been on there for 50 years. Township treasurer for 18 years. I left in 2020. I was fire chief prior to being the treasurer back in 2002. So when I got on as the treasurer here, there was a conflict being the fire chief and being a member of the fire, or being the chief and being the township treasurer with a conflict of interest because of the high level I was on both jobs. So I've been, for the last 18 years that I was a treasurer, I was assistant chief. When the call came, I left because I was here for the people of Lyon Township. My job as a treasurer didn't bother that a bit. I still got my job done. As Harry would, if a complaint comes in, he'll take care of it later. The important thing is here is that ambulance and those fire trucks roll out of the fire department with as many people on board as you can. And that guy right over there knows that for a fact. So I think, I heard a rumor that this might happen, and I don't like the way you did it. This is the first night, and I can see right now, there's already some conflict, and that shouldn't be. I hope you're the best, I really do. But I think going forward from this point on, you better think, because the people in Lyon Township, if that ambulance doesn't come on, I was an EMT also for 40-some years. So I've been on this whole gamut. Township board member, fire chief, EMS, everything. And I think you're making a mistake. And that's all I have to say. Thank you. Wish you luck.
Thanks, Craig. Is there any other comments from the public out there? Sure, come on up.
Sam Bedoyan Jr., Lyon Township resident. Unfortunately, the decision you made, you did so because of the fact that, yes, you were voted in by your peers. When you were voted in, those that voted for you entrusted that you would make decisions basically on their behalf, is what it boils down to. Now, the adversities that are here today, well, it's sort of common. it's their prerogative to make those decisions. And whether we like it or not, we had the same thing at the county level, at the state level, at the federal level. And now we're here at the local level. The majority of the citizens of Lyon Township said their piece at the primary by a 2-to-1 margin, whether you like it or not. So that set a resounding effect of how the majority voted for this gentleman here to be in office. The minority, which is spoken here tonight as well, they have the prerogative to speak out as well. And what I'm sorry to hear, that he's taken upon himself to resign from the fire department. Now, I'm only going back 22 years ago, that this situation would only have removed him as ordinance officer. It would not remove him from the fire department, because it took on...
Not true.
May I finish?
Yeah, please let him finish.
I want to use an example. Trustees are assigned by additional duties. If they're removed from those additional duties, they're being paid. And they can be removed from those additional duties, but not be removed as a trustee. The firemen are recommended by the fire chief to the board to be hired. That's common knowledge. Then, took on the role and hired in as ordinance officer. I wish that he would stay with the fire department. God knows we need this. I mean, we're looking back, when Craig Williams was back in the day, he said 50 years, we've seen a lot of transition in those 50 years. When JC told me here not too long ago, we only got 8 or 9 people on the fire department. That's a little scary. But it's just unfortunate the way things turned out this evening. I'm just saying to Harry, I wish you would reconsider to be back on the fire department. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Can I clarify that a little bit?
No, we've kind of gone the route on that.
Not you.
Really?
Yes, really.
True colors come.
If you would like to speak to something else, go ahead.
Just want to say you remove 2/3 of my income. I cannot survive on the rest. Bye-bye.
You have spoken, sir. Thank you. Are there any other comments? Okay, going once. Twice. I don't see any. Oh, come on
I
up.
have a question. Janice Adair, Lyon Township. My question is, you've rescinded the ordinance for the septic things?
Yes.
So what I'd like to know is, how do we know what's getting done out there? You say the health department takes care of it. Do you receive any reports from them on what's being corrected?
Again, tonight, we're not going to go into the details of where it goes from here. We will publish what we're going to do. If you want to fill a form out to make sure you get a direct answer from me or one of us,
Yes,
we'll certainly do that.
Yes, I think the community needs to know the quality of the water, quality of the lake, and how it's being addressed.
I can tell you that we are going to move towards a lake stewardship plan that involves all sources of pollution, uses common sense, and addresses them. But this is down the road. We are here at this meeting to discuss the issues here and on that agenda.
Well, you said you're going in a new direction, that's what I'm asking, is how we will find out, that's all.
As fast as we can work, we will be putting the information out there.
Thank you.
Good question, actually. Thank you. One more time around for last call here.
Yeah.
Okay, you were pretty quick the first time around too,
I
so
was.
we'll let this go.
One more thing about John Davis, Lyon Township. I'm still worried about this new direction because Harry Johnson was a staunch supporter, as a lot of the people in this room are, of this sewer around Higgins Lake. And this smacks of reprisal.
Okay, thank you for that. Any,
I just like to say the reason I'm standing up is my back hurts from time to time if I sit too long. So don't take anything by that. I'm just standing up because I'm stretching my back.
that is true. Trustee Detmer has a bad back. It's up to alleviate the pain, and it has been interpreted as he's threatening people back there.
No.
In any case, that's not what it is. Third time on the last call for a public comment. Okay. We believe strongly that you are the voice of the township. As Timothy Monet expressed, we're here to listen to you, and we are. But we will not end with board comments. Your comments are going to be the end of this meeting. So I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting. Or ask for a motion, sorry. Do we have a second? Okay, the meeting is adjourned at 8:25. Clerk Byrne.